Hello again, you extraordinary and no doubt sexy subscribers. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hemingway Land YouTube channel. Yes, people, this is, as you can see from the state map and flag and whatnot that we have in front of us, our first Colorado property of 2023. Nearly 4 months into the year, basically 4 months into the year, we finally have a Colorado property. Now that the web design has wrapped up, people, now that my weekends are not spent saying, could we move the line 2 inches to the left? Can we center the text? Can we use a different font? Now that my time is not spent doing that, now we can focus again on properties, on debuting properties, and aggressive acquisitions we are in the works on, people. It'll probably be a few weeks before that really starts to show up on the website. But we are making aggressive efforts in both New Mexico and Colorado, specifically to get a bunch of new properties up on the website for, I guess, the late spring, summer, rest of the year, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, in the other states, and perhaps even in some new states, fingers, toes, eyeballs crossed. Whatever the case, you know, Colorado, guys, 74 counties out here in the Centennial State. I thought it was the Rocky Mountain State. I think it has multiple aliases. I don't know. But 74 counties in the Centennial State, of course, it is my goal, my aspiration to have land in all of these at some point. Of course, I said that in New Mexico, and we're still trying to check all 33 off that list. But a lot of easier said than done in a lot of regions of this state. When you really start to study the map, you will find that in the eastern and northern regions of Colorado, there's a lot of counties where it's mostly agricultural land. There's like 10 families that own all the land, and everybody has a 20,000-acre ranch and things like that. So those, probably not so much. But certainly the bulk of the 74 counties, I think, is realistic. We'll see, guys. We're working on it. Anyway, with all that said, guys, I don't have much to talk about this week, so we're going to get into the new property soon. Hold your pants on, guys. But first, special thanks to all our valued customers. So wrapping up the month of March strong, guys, super strong. Sold some land in, get this, guys, sold some land in Nevada. Do you remember Nevada, guys? Remember how we used to sell land in Nevada, like at least once a week? We'd have properties we'd sell flying off the shelves. Not so much recently. Not so much. Whatever the case, our buddy Gary, returning customer Gary, bought some land from us out there in Nye County in Pahrump. So special thanks to our buddy Gary. In Arizona. You remember Arizona, guys? You remember how we occasionally sell properties in Arizona too? Well, it's been a little slow in Arizona recently. Would help if we had a reliable photographer out there so we can buy more out there. Whatever the case. In Santa Cruz County, our buddy Dwayne, another returning customer, Dwayne, bought some land from us out there. You know, guys, I go into these regions. I don't know a hell of a lot about them, and I study things. I study, and I try to find what is some desirable land in this region that you, fine and delightful people, would be interested in. And I found this subdivision, Rio Rico, in Santa Cruz County, and I'm like, oh, this looks good. Let's buy some property out there. 14 months later, finally sold one of them. So Dwayne did us a favor, picked up one of those. Special thanks again to Dwayne. And in Colorado, sold some land in Costilla County, more specifically out there in the Wild Horse Mesa to Jacob and Carly. They bought the third of 4 properties that we've had out there. Only one remaining, guys. Only one left. Act now. It's going fast. Anyway, special thanks to them. And finally, guys, in New Mexico, working our way north to south in Taos County, sold some land to Josh and Devin. Special thanks to them. In Valencia County, sold some land to Jeremy and Bonnie. Again, special thanks to them. And in Socorro County, sold some land all to returning customers Juan, Tracy, and yes, you guessed it, the Carinas of Socorro County. Hemingway Land All-Stars, Martin and Julie, picked up some land from us out there. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. They pounce. They subscribe to the channel. They watch the newsletter, and they see the new properties, and they pounce. They buy them immediately. Boom! Like that. Anyway, so special thanks to all our returning customers, to all our new customers, so on and so forth. With all that said, guys, let's get to this week's new property. So we've got only one new property going live this week, but it's our very first property in Park County, Colorado. And it's the first in a series that will be rolling out in this region, a region which has a lot more to offer than may be apparent at first glance. So we're going to do this a little differently today, guys. We're going to start with the property, and then we'll zoom out and talk about all the great things around it. So with that said, let's cue up the map and get into it. So the property we've got today is in the South Park Ranches, a rural residential sub located just north of Highway 24 and occupying roughly this space you see here. And yes, guys, it is a massive sub. The subject property, like pretty much all the lots in the SPR, is a 5-acre parcel, this one located here along Eagle Drive. Now, let me break this down quickly for you guys. You got 5 acres of good road access sitting a little under a mile north of the highway, so basically a straight shot up to the land. These are dirt roads, which are in pretty good shape, but of course it's Colorado, so probably half the year they're covered in snow, which means a larger truck or off-road capable vehicle is a smart thing to have. In the photos here, you'll see some power lines about 500 feet north of the property. It should be noted, however, that these are transmission lines and not residential power lines. In fact, from what I have observed, residential power lines are not common at all in this sub, and most of the owner-occupied land seems to be getting their power from solar panels. Point being, guys, this is likely not one you can connect to the grid, at least not anytime soon. Now, the property looks flat, but it's got a bit of what we will call an undulating topography, with a slight pitch from the road on the west side of the land to the eastern boundary. Speaking of the eastern boundary, this property is notable because it backs up to 640 acres of state trust land, as indicated by this fence, which of course means that no one is going to be able to build to your east, not only guaranteeing you some additional privacy, but of course the fenced eastern boundary is a nice bonus when it comes to determining your property boundaries and keeping trespassers away. Speaking of trespassers, these guys show up from time to time, as this region of Colorado boasts one of the largest populations of pronghorn antelope in America, and probably the world. I don't know. What am I, guys? An expert on antelope? Give me a break. The point is they're out here, and if you leave out some apples, they'll probably hang out on your land more. Additionally, guys, South Park Ranches has no HOA, no annual dues, and only very light covenants. Minimum square footage for structures out here is 600 square feet for single-story homes and 800 square feet for two-story homes, which, depending on your definition of a tiny home, might be good for that. More to the point, however, very few regulations for whatever you do decide to build, so of course unconventional structures are, in all likelihood, welcome. And when it comes to camping and RVing out here, you can do that for 2 weeks at a time without a permit, and for much longer with one, though with one usually requires installing some sort of waste treatment system on the land, and most people don't want to mess with that, but point being, it's a good recreational property for 2-week camping or hunting trips. Now, with all that said, let me show you what I believe is the real selling point of this property. Okay, so we got Park County outlined on the map, and the pin you see here is the property. From this point on the map, you are literally, within a 5-minute drive of 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 lakes and state parks. Let me take you through them from west to east. First off, we've got the Antero Reservoir over here. Pause for drone footage. Then we've got the Spinney Mountain State Park. Pause again for drone footage. And finally, the 11 Mile State Park, all of which, of course, offer more recreational activities than I can list here, but the obvious ones are boating, fishing, fly fishing, ice fishing, hiking, camping, bird watching, so on and so forth. And now that we've gotten our money's worth out of the drone footage, it's also worth noting that owning land here puts you in very close proximity of the Pike-San Isabel National Forest, which, as anyone who's read Wikipedia knows, consists of over 3 million acres of land stretching from the Kansas border in the east all the way to about the middle of the state. And of course, not only will you find plenty of great hunting opportunities here, but this forest is home to Pikes Peak and plenty of great trails and mountains for hikers and climbers of all ages. In addition, guys, from the subject property, you are only about 40 minutes from Breckenridge in nearby Summit County. Of course, this region boasts some of the best skiing in the state, perhaps second only to Telluride, but nonetheless, this region is chock-a-block with a lot of great snow-based recreation, we will call it. Finally, guys, one of the really nice things about owning land in this region is that you are centrally located close to a lot of mid-sized towns. Now, most people selling land out here will tell you Denver's right around the corner. Of course, right around the corner is still about 2 hours away. Colorado Springs over here is a lot closer, but that's still about an hour drive. That said, if you're talking about quick runs for groceries and supplies, you've got going east on the 24, Lake George, Florissant, and Woodland Park. And going west on the 24 to the 285, you'll run into towns such as Buena Vista, Johnson Village, and Salida. And really, the direction you drive in ends up being one of personal taste less than convenience, since the towns have roughly the same collection of stores and restaurants, and despite appearances on the map, are about equidistant from the subject property. Point being, despite its rural setting, civilization and various amenities are none too far away, in addition to about 7 million great attractions. With all that said, going live on the website next week, we are back in Colorado with another Park County property. Tune in next week to learn more. Until such a time, have a great 7 days, everybody, and we will see you back here in next week's video.